America and the world gather for a celebration. Coming to this country's golden shores, to New York Harbor, to honor one of liberty's proudest symbols, the Statue of Liberty.
Live from New York Harbor, the celebration continues as ABC presents Liberty Weekend. This morning, President Reagan reviews the international fleet, then the parade of the world's greatest tall ships in Operation Sail 86. Now from Governor's Island, Peter Jennings.
Good morning. There it is, New York Harbor, one of the world's greatest. And there the entrance to the Hudson River, so named for Henry Hudson, who sailed up this river first in 1609. And here this morning, from around the world, the ships of the International Naval Armada have come to pay tribute to the Statue of Liberty. And there she is, the USS Iowa, America's battleship carrying the President of the United States down between the ships of the International Naval Armada on this, the 4th of July. Good morning and welcome to a glorious and sunny day as they stand the rail on the ships from Jamaica, from Canada, from Britain, France, and West Germany. It won't be long before the ships of another age make their way up through this harbor to cross and salute the statue and the President of the United States and, of course, the President of France, François Mitterrand, who will also this morning make his way down this great river in the eastern United States to Governor's Island to pay tribute once again to the Statue of Liberty. This is Liberty Weekend, and on board with the President, ABC's Sam Donaldson. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Peter. We're on the deck of the Iowa, as you said, moving down the Hudson River. We're just passing the trade towers now. President Reagan came aboard about 25 or 30 minutes ago by helicopter from the Rockefeller Estate, where he's been staying. 1,500 men of the Iowa here met him along the rail. It was quite a sight. And in a few moments, we're going to see these great ships from 33 ships from 14 countries. Mrs. Reagan, of course, is with the President, as are his top officials, the Chief of Staff, Donald Regan, Secretaries Schultz and Weinberger, and National Security Advisor Poindexter.
Sam, I must confess that some of us were quite amazed last night. The President, who looks as vigorous as always this morning, we thought he was freezing last night because it turns out to have been one of the coldest days of the year on this particular date in New York history. How is he this morning?
Well, Peter, I think you said something about the President and the cold last night. This ship has a great deal of electronics on it. Radars are going and everything, which is interfering with the signal. But it was cold for a lot of people out there. But, of course, President and Mrs. Reagan had blankets in their box, and he seemed to have survived very nicely.
And there you stand beneath the 16-inch guns. You've already had a number of 21-gun salutes. Are you going to fire one?
Well, the ship has been firing from a 5-inch gun, one salute at the top, and then as the President has gone down the river, other naval vessels have fired 21-gun salutes. There's one going off right now. I don't know the name of it, but it's a United States Navy ship, and Mr. Reagan will probably come out where you can see him better. There he is now with the First Lady, and they're going to take this salute.
Salutes from the sea and salutes from the air. It is going to be a glorious day, but it is also going to be a noisy day. As the aerobatic teams from the U.S. Navy and the Air Force come and do their stuff over Governor's Island, where the Coast Guard has made us so welcome throughout Liberty Weekend. The President and Mrs. Reagan now rounding the tip of Battery Park, the very edge of this 10-mile island, which has seen so much maritime history. There they are, the great 16-inch guns, and as Sam Donaldson didn't tell you because I couldn't hear, The decision was not to fire them in New York Harbor, lest they blow out all the windows in all the glass buildings around the edge of Battery Park in Battery Park City. In Battery Park City, Lynn Scher. Good morning, Lynn. Crowd gathering?
Yes, Peter. So are the helicopters, but I think we can talk over the police helicopter. The crowds are gathering, and what you need to know is the view that we have from here that you are seeing is not just for the crowds who are here today. There are people who actually live here. Battery Park City, a new development at the end of Lower Manhattan, and people live here. This is what they could see every day. Incidentally, the battleship Iowa, as it goes by, I'm sure you can see an escort of almost every kind of boat in this harbor. There are sailboats, there are power boats, there are cruisers, and there was even a kayak that went by about 5 minutes ago. It seems as if everybody wants to travel with the president, with the battleship, be in its wake or help lead the way, and here comes a tugboat, as a matter of fact. Just about every kind of craft that you normally see in this part of the island. But as you know, we are not used to that battleship gray. Today it has such a festive air about it. The crowds are beginning to arrive. The grandstands here, some people have paid for these tickets. Some of them have been given them because they're part of a corporate sponsor. And the stands are beginning to fill up. It took a little while, but there's quite a bit of activity here right now. Here comes the tugboat. This is what we're a lot more used to seeing here in New York Harbor.
Thank you, Lynn, very much.
And the Circle Line behind it. Peter?
Thank you, Lynn. Lynn, by the way, standing on land where there was none before, because Battery Park City, of which Lynn spoke this morning, is actually the result of landfill from the trade towers, the twin trade towers, which you'll see a lot of today. They are the two tallest twin towers in the world, and what a vantage point this morning. There's a great deal more to come. If the harbor looks crowded now, just wait. We'll be back.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, a special edition.
Good evening, and it is just that here in New York Harbor. It almost looks too good to be true. This, of course, is the home of Lady Liberty, a monumental statue that for 100 years now has symbolized liberty and the immigrant spirit of America. And when they decided to salute her on her 100th birthday, it's hard to imagine that they could have come up with a more spectacular pageant. The harbor was jammed with spectacular sights. 22 tall ships. And those ships were surrounded by more than 200 smaller ones. President and Mrs. Reagan took in a 21-gun salute from warships of 14 countries as they sailed down the Hudson River. Mr. Reagan said he could find no words to describe his pride. And a man in the middle of all of this, the man who invited the whole world to New York, is the mayor of this city, Ed Koch, who's on the island of Manhattan. Mayor, when you invited the whole world, did you expect that they would show up?
Well, I was hoping that maybe half would show up. It seems to me that at least half did show up, and I hope the others make up for their error in staying away the first 2 days and coming tomorrow and Sunday.
Security was a big concern so far. No major problems, I gather.
The police commissioner, Ben Ward, has told me that we've had no incidents that are untoward, and I've asked everybody that I've talked to, and I've shaken what I feel to be about 1 million hands. People love what the cops are doing, the job the transportation is doing. We have no problems to date, but I'm, holding my hands and crossing my fingers.
Mr. Mayor, you're a politician up from the streets. There's been an awful lot of emphasis this weekend on the glitz and on the yachts and on the rich. Tickets to last night's gala cost $5,000 apiece. Do you think that we have been too conspicuous in our consumption this weekend in the celebration of the Statue of Liberty?
You can see every event from all parts of the island without paying a single nickel. There is money being raised. There was money raised to fix the Statue of Liberty, over $260 million, Ellis Island. There's no question that rich people have made large contributions. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact is we have a free festival right here in Lower Manhattan. Millions of people are all around this town, and they're enjoying it free.
America and the world gather for a celebration. Coming to this country's golden shores, to New York Harbor, to honor one of liberty's proudest symbols, the Statue of Liberty.
Tonight it continues. First, from Liberty State Park, the Americana Music Concert. The Boston Pops Orchestra with John Williams play George Gershwin and John Philip Sousa. Performances by Melissa Manchester, John Denver, Whitney Houston, Johnny Cash, and Barry Manilow. Then, 30 minutes of spectacular fireworks, the world's largest display ever. After, one of America's finest actors, Sam Waterston as Henry David Thoreau, in a powerful interpretation of freedom. Live for the next 3 hours, a nation celebrates as ABC presents Liberty Weekend. Now from Governor's Island, Peter Jennings and Barbara Walters.
Good evening and welcome back to New York Harbor. We have been here through a glorious July the 4th, and I hope you have had a chance to join us throughout the day to see some of the exciting tall ships and the International Armada, which President Reagan and Francois Mitterrand review today. Those ships who sailed into the harbor today have now all anchored around this bay. There are literally thousands and thousands of ships on the New York shore, Barbara, and on the New Jersey shore. The New York shore is very crowded.
Let me tell you, I took the subway today. I believe you. And it is marvelous down there. I don't mean just the subway so marvelous, but when you get down, the people all in Lower Manhattan, the excitement, the music, the bands. I almost didn't want to come here. I was having such a good time. And behind us here in Governor's Island, the Coast Guard has taken it back as their own, and they're lined up with their kids. They have umbrellas and blankets out there. They're going to watch the Big Bang fireworks tonight and have the most wonderful time. I hope they deserve it.
Well, I'm certainly very glad you came, and I'm glad everybody else joined us. I must tell you, one of the things that I've been sensitive throughout all today's broadcast is how the possessiveness of New York State and New York City about the Statue of Liberty, but the statue's really shared between two states. She is actually closer to the New Jersey shore. And over there behind us, that is the New Jersey shore, beneath the sun, which is setting in the west. And it was from the New Jersey Railroad station there that so many immigrants left to fan out across America after they'd come under the statue and gone through Ellis Island. And is there tonight in Liberty State Park, where the Boston Pops Esplanade Orchestra is going to play this tribute to American music. And the concert is going to begin, conducted by John Williams, with the theme that John Williams conducted for Liberty Weekend. We hope you will stay with us for the concert. The fireworks are to follow. We think it's going to be, again, an exciting and very happy evening. The Star-Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key, during and after the bombardment of Fort McHenry at Baltimore during the War of 1812. It seems to work so much more profoundly on this day, and this has been an extraordinary
Everything seems to work more profoundly. By the way, that beautiful chorus is made out for members of the Army and Navy and Air Force. The voices we just heard. We should tell people, I'm sure that they know this, but if some of the music that John Williams created sounds a little familiar, he did the music for Jaws, E.T. I have a little competition up here. That's the helicopter headed towards the JFK where the President and First Lady are tonight. Now he's out of our earshot, so we can go back and talk normally. I was saying that John Williams wrote the music for E.T. and for Jaws and for Star Wars, and it's got the same spirit tonight.
You began to hint at what's going to happen on the USS John F. Kennedy, which is just south of us in the harbor here tonight. President, with Mrs. Reagan, is back on board the Kennedy and is going to light the fireworks, start them in some fashion tonight when this concert at Liberty State Park is over. But as we said at the beginning of the broadcast, it begins with New Jersey's turn.
And tomorrow, by the way, the Statue of Liberty officially opens to the public, and Mrs. Reagan will be opening it with young children, both French and American, and then anyone who comes here can go off and visit and see it in all its beauty.
And there's some very interesting changes in the Statue of Liberty this time, too, because it's now even better equipped. There, by the way, is the John F. Kennedy there with her enormous deck, her flat top on which she can carry almost 90 aircraft. And that, I think you'll find, is the press pool or the president himself, and with Mrs. Reagan arriving on board the Kennedy, having had an extremely busy day. It is not the president, it is the press pool, the White House press corps pool that accompanies the president at all times.
They had an extremely busy day, too.
Press pool's never had so much attention. It's just ad right there. He'll be arriving very shortly. He's had an extremely busy day, having got up very early along with some of the rest of us and come down the Hudson River, reviewed the international naval ships, then sat on Governor's Island, was on board the USS Iowa, then had a luncheon with French President Mitterrand, who's going off to Moscow on Monday. He had a lot of mix of politics today, as well as just celebrating the 4th.
But don't you think that he's had a very good time? I mean, this is just the kind of event that President Reagan loves. It's patriotic, it's exciting, it's the American dream. Some people say that he's the embodiment of the American dream.
Well, I've certainly heard a great many people, Barbara, today, and I think it's certainly not an original thought, to say that how President Reagan has contributed considerably to making America feel the way it is today. Let's go back to Liberty State Park and this evening's concert.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the Boston Pops Esplanade Orchestra. Thank you. Tonight, we want to pay tribute to our American composers. And no program of American music could exist, I think, without the presence of our first composer, Mr. Leonard Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein, like the Boston Pops, hails from Massachusetts, but his music is known and loved throughout the world. And we'd like to begin tonight with his fabulous overture to Candide.
presentation of Liberty Weekend is brought to you by the new...
Good evening, I'm John Denver. You know, I write a few songs, but I'll tell you what, I'm just an old cowboy from the heart of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, and I just can't find the words to tell you how thrilled and honored I am to be part of this wonderful celebration this evening. Isn't it a great day to be an American? So as my contribution to this magnificent celebration, I'd like to sing America, the Dream Goes On, a song that was composed by our maestro himself, Mr. John Williams.
There's a song in the dust of a country road, on the wind it comes to call, and it sings in the farms and the factory towns, and where you think there'd be no song at all. And the words are the words that our fathers heard as they whistled down the years, and the name of the song is the name of the dream, and it's music to our ears. America. Courthouse walls are the words that make us free, and the more we remember the way we began, the closer we get to the best we can be. Was there ever a time we forgot its worth, all the struggles and the scars? If we leave to the children a sky full of hope and a flag that's filled with stars, America. The song the same as it sings from sea to sea, and as long as the music is strong and clear, we'll know that tomorrow will always be free. America, America, and the dream goes on. America, America, and the dream goes on. America, America, and the dream
a country boy. Hi, I'm Melissa Manchester. It's an honor to be here and a thrill to look out and see the Statue of Liberty looking as she should look. Like the lady with the lamp, I'm a New Yorker. And I'm pleased to be singing some of the songs of another New Yorker, the American composer who's most responsible for my love of music, George Gershwin. The first time I heard his music, it was Rhapsody in Blue. I went crazy. I've never lost that feeling.
Fascinating rhythm, you got me on the go. Fascinating rhythm, I'm all a quiver. What a mess you're making, the neighbors want to know why I'm always shaking just like a flivver. Each morning I get up with the sun to find at night the work has been done. I know that words didn't matter, but now you're doing wrong when you start to chatter with someone else. Won't you take a day off, just have to run along somewhere far away off and make it snap. Oh, how I long to be the girl I used to be. Fascinating rhythm, fascinating rhythm, fascinating rhythm. Stop picking on me. Oh, please have some pity. I'm all alone in this big city. Someday he'll come along, the man I love, and he'll be big and strong, the man I love. And when he comes my way, I'll do my best to make embrace me, my sweet embraceable you. Embrace me, you irreplaceable you. Don't be a naughty baby. Come to mama, come to mama, do. My sweet
is from George Gershwin's glorious opera, Porgy and Bess. Gershwin's masterpiece has been performed all over the world and was the first American opera ever presented in Italy's great opera house, La Scala. And here to sing the duet, Bess, You Is My Woman Now, from Porgy and Bess, are two internationally acclaimed American opera stars from Chester, Pennsylvania, and Centerville, Iowa, Clamadale and Simon Estes.
Coming up, the biggest fireworks ever in America.
Good evening. I'm Joel Gray. The music we're hearing was written by George M. Cohan, American actor, playwright, songwriter, producer, genius. Imagine. And I got to play him. I've always hated this overrated, pretentious music, complicated, and compositions that have conditions and intermissions of these musicians. It's hard to hear it or just be near it. Upon my word, I always fear it. For I'm the original Frankie Yankee popular melody fool. Give me a tune that's worth the listening. Give me a tune that's worth the whistling. I want to soothe the strain instead of a vodka pain. I give the trombones a chance to blow it and give you a dash and brag and go it. What I'm stating is advocating popular melody school. I want to hear a Yankee Doodle-Doo made by a military band. I want to hear a Yankee Doodle-Doo, the only music I can understand. Whoa, Susan, won't you write another march? Yours is just a melody divine. You may have your William Tell, your Faust of Low and Grin as well, but I'll take the Yankee Doodle-Doo for mine. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of a fine yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to old Broadway. Say that I'll be there ere long. But with propriety, society will say, Marie. But it was Mary, Mary, long before the fashion's day. And there is something there that sounds so square. It's a grand old name. Yankee Doodle went to London just to ride the pony. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real life nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle went to London just to ride the ponies. I am the Yankee Doodle boy. mother thanks you. His father thanks you. His sister thanks you. George M. Cohan thanks you. And as for myself, that goes without saying. And now, continuing in the spirit of the evening, here's a medley of some songs by other great American composers played by the Boston Pops Esplanade Orchestra, conducted by my buddy, John Williams.
ABC's exclusive coverage of the Americana Music Concert will continue in a moment.
The Empire State Building as the sun goes down. Tonight, everything just seems to be so perfect. Fireworks coming up in the sky in just a few minutes. Biggest fireworks in U.S. history. And you know, that wonderful music, Peter, that American music, makes you understand why it's played all over the world.
I remember an evening, not unlike this, Barbara, in Jordan, on the desert in Jordan, seeing a young goat herd in the distance with what I thought was his hand to his ear. And as I approached him, I realized he had a shortwave radio, and he was listening to the voice of America, American music. You can hear it all over the world, indeed. Let's go back now to Liberty State Park, to this Americana concert, and Whitney Houston.
Hello, I'm Whitney Houston. I was born just a few short miles from here in Newark, New Jersey. Yeah. This has been a wonderful year for me, and being part of this fantastic night of music is the icing on the cake. As the youngest performer of the evening, I'd like to sing a special song which I feel has something to say to all of us, especially our young people. It was written by Michael Masser and the late Linda Creed. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'm living on. I believe no matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because of love of all, it's happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love itself, it is the greatest love of all. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago
Wonderful, Whitney, just wonderful. Whitney Houston. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. My hometown is Kingsland, Arkansas, and I'm proud to be here tonight representing the world of country music. My home state of Arkansas joined the Union 150 years ago, and we became the 25th state, represented by the 25th star on the American flag. And I'm mighty proud of that shining star. 10 years ago, for our bicentennial, I wrote a piece about what those stars and stripes have been through and overcome throughout our proud history, and I'd like to do it for you now. I walked through a county courthouse square, and on a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, "Your old courthouse is kind of run down." He said, "No, it'll do for our little town." I said, "Your old flagpole's kind of leaned a little bit, and that's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it." He said, "Have a seat," and I sat down. He said, "Is this the first time you've come to our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag." You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night Francis Scott Key sat up watching it riding, Say Can You See? It got a little rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. It almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on though. It got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville. Got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she took a bad hit from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low by the time that one was through. She was in Korea, Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. The Native Americans, the blacks, yellow and white, all shed red blood for the stars and stripes. And in her own good land here, she's been abused, she's been burned, dishonored, denied, refused, and the very government for which she stands has been scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare, and she's wearing kind of thin, but she's in pretty good shape for the shape she's in, because she's been through the fire before, and she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, and we bring her down slowly every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her upright. On second thought, I guess I do like to brag, because I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free, while truth is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never sound retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. His truth is
We're going to go back to Liberty State Park where the finale is fast approaching. And here is because let's go to the USS John F. Kennedy in the harbor. President Reagan is now going to come on to the deck of the USS John F. Kennedy to speak to the nation on the subject of this 210th anniversary of independence and the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty's arrival in America. The president, to the tune, ruffles and flourishes, music from the 16th century, has had a very busy day. He reviewed the International Naval Armada. They're on board the John F. Kennedy, the sailors and their officers, who, as the men on any ship, realize the honor of having the commander-in-chief on board. John F. Kennedy was the largest ship in the International Naval Review here, the 5th International Naval Review that's been held in the United States since the early part of the 19th century. There, once again, beneath the Statue of Liberty, the President.
My fellow Americans, in a few moments, the celebration will begin here in New York Harbor. It's going to be quite a show. I was just looking over the preparations and thinking about a saying that we had back in Hollywood about never doing a scene with kids or animals because they'd steal the scene every time. So you can rest assured, I wouldn't even think about trying to compete with a fireworks display, especially on the 4th of July. My remarks tonight will be brief, but it's worth remembering that all the celebration of this day is rooted in history. It's recorded that shortly after the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia, celebrations took place throughout the land, and many of the former colonists, they were just starting to call themselves Americans, set off cannons and marched in fife and drum parades. What a contrast with the sober scene that has taken place a short time earlier in Independence Hall. 56 men came forward to sign the parchment. It was noted at the time that they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors. And that was more than rhetoric. Each of those men knew the penalty for high treason to the crown. We must all hang together, Benjamin Franklin said, or assuredly we will all hang separately. And John Hancock, it is said, wrote his signature in large script so King George could see it without his spectacles. They were brave. They stayed brave through all the bloodshed of the coming years. Their courage created a nation built on a universal claim to human dignity, on the proposition that every man, woman, and child had a right to a future of freedom. For just a moment, let us listen to the words again. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Last night, when we rededicated Miss Liberty and relit her torch, we reflected on all the millions who came here in search of the dream of freedom inaugurated in Independence Hall. We reflected, too, on their courage in coming great distances and settling in a foreign land and then passing on to their children and their children's children the hope symbolized in this statue here just behind us, the hope that is America. It is a hope that someday every people and every nation of the world will know the blessings of liberty. And it's the hope of millions all around the world. In the last few years, I've spoken at Westminster to the Mother of Parliaments, at Versailles, where French kings and world leaders have made war and peace. I've been to the Vatican in Rome, the Imperial Palace in Japan, and the ancient city of Beijing. I've seen the beaches of Normandy and stood again with those boys of Pointe du Hoc who long ago scaled the heights, and with, at that time, Lisa Zanetta Hen, who was at Omaha Beach for the father she loved, the father who had once dreamed of seeing again the place where he and so many brave others had landed on D-Day. But he had died before he could make that trip, and she made it for him. And Dad, she'd said, I'll always be proud. And I've seen the successors to these brave men, the young Americans in uniform all over the world, young Americans like you here tonight, who man the mighty USS Kennedy and the Iowa and the other ships of the line. I can assure you, you out there who are listening, that these young people are like their fathers and their grandfathers, just as willing, just as brave, and we can be just as proud. But our prayer tonight is that the call for their courage will never come, and that it's important for us, too, to be brave. Not so much the bravery of the battlefield, I mean the bravery of brotherhood. All through our history, our presidents and leaders have spoken of national unity and warned us that the real obstacle to moving forward the boundaries of freedom, the only permanent danger to the hope that is America, comes from within. It's easy enough to dismiss this as a kind of familiar exhortation. Yet the truth is that even two of our greatest founding fathers, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, once learned this lesson late in life. They'd worked so closely together in Philadelphia for independence. But once that was gained and a government was formed, something called partisan politics began to get in the way. After a bitter and divisive campaign, Jefferson defeated Adams for the presidency in 1800. And the night before Jefferson's inauguration, Adams slipped away to Boston, disappointed, broken-hearted, and bitter. For years, their estrangement lasted. But when both had retired, Jefferson at 68 to Monticello and Adams at 76 to Quincy, they began through their letters to speak again to each other. Letters that discussed almost every conceivable subject: gardening, horseback riding, even sneezing as a cure for hiccups, but other subjects as well: the loss of loved ones, the mystery of grief and sorrow, the importance of religion, and of course the last thoughts, the final hopes of two old men, two great patriarchs for the country that they had helped to found and loved so deeply. It carries me back, Jefferson wrote about correspondence with his co-signer of the Declaration of Independence, to the times when, beset with difficulties and dangers, we were fellow laborers in the same cause, struggling for what is most valuable to man, his right to self-government, laboring always at the same oar, with some wave ever ahead threatening to overwhelm us, and yet passing harmless, we rode through the storm with heart and hand. It was their last gift to us, this lesson in brotherhood, in tolerance for each other, this insight into America's strength as a nation. And when both died on the same day, within hours of each other, that date was July 4th, 50 years exactly after that first gift to us, the Declaration of Independence. My fellow Americans, it falls to us to keep faith with them and all the great Americans of our past. Believe me, if there's one impression I carry with me after the privilege of holding for 5.5 years the office held by Adams, Jefferson, and Lincoln, it is this, that the things that unite us, America's past of which we're so proud, our hopes and aspirations for the future of the world and this much-loved country, these things far outweigh what little divides us. And so tonight, we reaffirm that Jew and Gentile, we are one nation under God, that black and white, we are one nation indivisible, that Republican and Democrat, we are all Americans. Tonight, with heart and hand, through whatever trial and travail, we pledge ourselves to each other and to the cause of human freedom, the cause that has given light to this land and hope to the world. My fellow Americans, we're known around the world as a confident and a happy people. Tonight, there's much to celebrate and many blessings to be grateful for. So while it's good to talk about serious things, it's just as important and just as American to have some fun. Now, let's have some fun. Let the celebration begin.
A light to the world, a beacon held high. The great symbol of freedom beckoning from a harbor. To the north, to the south, to the east, to the west, reaching across the world to all whose hearts know the meaning of her life. seven seas, immigrants brought with them beautiful melodies which became America's music.
There's more than 20 minutes of this yet to come. We'll be right back. New York Harbor, and we don't need to tell you what's going on. Santa Lucia, Dudulix, the Blue Danube. The music represents the people who come to this country. The fireworks represent celebration. There she stands, the Statue of Liberty. Probably the first time in this entire Liberty Weekend celebration she's been dwarfed for even a second. As the fireworks from Japan and China, from Australia, Canada, Great Britain, and the United States shower into the sky over New York Harbor in this celebration of Liberty's 100th birthday. Would you believe there is more? As the New York Harbor sky is filled. We'll be back in just a minute. Well, we said there was more to come, and there they are. We're about 2/3 of the way through now. George, we have a very brief pause here. Are you disappointed in any way, shape, or form?
You know, the Japanese made a lot of shells especially for this night, and I've seen shells out there that I've never seen before. It's extraordinary. And we still have the finale to come, which has got 4,000 shells in it. Well, that's going to be something.
We said there were going to be 40,000 shells in the evening. We've seen 36,000. Of course,
newly restored Lady of Liberty.
Let's listen and go back to the fireworks over New York Harbor.
Today, we renew our dedication to preserve the dignity of man and equal justice for all. May her light shine ever brighter, enlightening the world.
to a name. I think people are in shock. George Plimpton, they've turned the materials of war into the great symbol of celebration. I'm limp. How about you?
Well, there you are. It is fireworks. It's the 8th art, isn't it? And how appropriate that fireworks, this great 4th of July tradition, should be put on such a magnificent display. Listen to that. Horns going everywhere, people jumping up and down. Really a wonderful way to celebrate this day.
George, thank you very much for joining us. George Plimpton, America's great experts on fireworks. I am absolutely serious. You find us limp. We'll be back in just a moment.
From New York Harbor, the celebration continues.
What a 4th it has been. A 4th to remember. And as the small boats and the ships make their way home from the edges of the Statue of Liberty, we here in New York Harbor can only hope that those of you at distance have felt as moved by this day and this occasion and this celebration as we have. Barbara, thank you. I'm Peter Jennings. For everyone at ABC News, good night.
Friday, July 4th, 1986, the 210th birthday of the United States of America, and we proudly proclaim that this is Entertainment Tonight. Having a good July 4th. I'm Rob Weller.
And I'm Mary Hart. It's a glorious 4th from sea to shining sea, but the most spectacular events are taking place in New York Harbor. Tall ships, a tall lady, President Mitterrand, President Reagan, fireworks, and music. It all started yesterday, and Barbara Hauer was behind the scenes.
Viewers at home, the kickoff gala for Liberty Weekend probably seemed to be history revisited. But for the dozens of performers and the press of 39 nations, the boat crossing from Manhattan to Governor's Island wasn't exactly fraught with tradition. The latter-day travelers were hardly the tired and the poor. In fact, 4,000 invited guests paid $5,000 a ticket for the privilege of celebrating the earlier journey of many of their ancestors.
I didn't even notice the Statue of Liberty when I passed in the Mayflower.
How was the crossing?
It was rough. It was rougher than the one on which I came over 40 years ago.
Choppy waters and broken gangplanks slowed things up a bit, but nothing like the problems of security, particularly tight given the dignitaries in the crowd. But even with two friendly world leaders present, the climate was frigid, with gusting winds cutting into the warmth of the event.
The weather gave new meaning to the word huddled masses.
The action up on the stage was often pretty hot, with just about every minority group in the country saluted and celebrated. But with so much national self-congratulation, It was sometimes difficult to know if the evening was a testimony to patriotism or to good old American public relations.
I don't know how you can separate the two, because I think this is a celebration. It's a birthday party, and I think to do it any way other than the way they're doing it, just full out, would be not giving it the attention that it truly deserves.
You think you'll say this Sunday?
I hope so.
The one big happy melting pot theme dominated the evening. And over the long haul of Liberty Weekend, there will be ample opportunities for all the invited performers and the elected officials to have their moment of glory in the spotlight. But on the opening night of the 4-day celebration, politicians and press, stars and spectators alike were in unusual accord on who was everyone's favorite celebrity.
The statue.
She needs to do some of those sit-ups, but otherwise we're talking good shape for 100 years.
Barbara Hauer, Entertainment.
Irving Berlin appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show on the occasion of his 80th birthday and sang his favorite of all the songs he ever composed. Here with a special Happy 4th of July from us is Irving Berlin.
Bye-bye.